To a concerning issue highlighted by a recent study on statutory rape reporting policies in schools. The research has uncovered a significant disconnect between the well-intentioned policies on paper and the realities faced by educators on the ground. The investigation reveals that in some rural communities, teachers are either unaware of these crucial policies or uncertain about their roles and responsibilities, or even feel constrained by cultural, social, or even systemic obstacles that leave them unable to take necessary action. Let's shed some light on this story then. Professor Azwihangwisi Mavhandu-Mudzusi joining us now, the UNISA head of research, then joining us to unpack this one. Professor, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Please would you share with us what brought this study or report about as well, and how you went about it?
Thank you very much. This study or report is part of a project which has been started some time ago. So almost every year, we used to go to the school, empowering the teachers on how to offer learners contextually relevant education, which consider the cultural, the social and economic status of learners, and also where the schools are located. So most of the schools are located around the N1 to Musina area in Limpopo, where you find that most of people who are there, they are in informal settlements, or they are of lower socioeconomic status. So what surprised us last year was when we were thinking that we are winning now, we are seeing less number of learners who are pregnant. Then when we start to discuss with educators that we're seeing less learners who are pregnant, what is happening? Then they said parents will come when you tell that there is a learner who is pregnant, and you tell them this person was dating maybe a taxi driver or somebody else. And when they tell the parent will say, don't worry, I'll sort this. They take the child to a termination of pregnancy. After 2 weeks, the child is back to school. But when they say, can we report the case? They say, never do that, because if you do that, we are going to stay in your house, me, my children, and whoever, because that person is supporting our family. So we cannot report that.
It's a very difficult situation itself here then, Prof. But basically teachers then in these rural areas should be reporting this, but some of them are either unaware, can't do it because of these social pressures that you make note of then. Is that the case?
Yes, but majority are unaware, because when we say there's this policy which the Department of Education have promulgated in 2021, and remember it was in 2024, people were not aware that when the learner is pregnant, it needs to be reported as a statutory rape, whether the learner have consented or not, as long as the learner is not aware of the policy. But they say even when they are aware, because it's not only about this statutory rape issue, even if there is a real case, like the incident where they were saying there was a stepfather who was raping a child, then they call the mother and say, this is what is happening. Then the stepmother, the mother said, as long as he's not going outside, don't bother. Because if he's reported and arrested, who is going to support us? We are 5 in the family and he's going to be in jail. Or sometimes they say when they start, let's say they phone the police, before the end of the day, there's somebody is threatening them. We hear that you are reporting us. We know where your children are. So there's a lot, and there's no protection even for the teachers.
This protection even for these teachers, I mean, is it because the schools themselves, which have now, I mean, the government itself, which has, of course, put in the statutory rape reporting policy for schools, hasn't instituted a kind of feedback loop or the kind of protection that is needed for these teachers? Or what is the real reason here that, you know, this policy perhaps isn't being followed as much? Is it just because of that policy on looking after teachers post them having to report this?
It can also be part of it because it's not explicit on the steps. How should it be followed? And also, um, how is confidentiality going to be maintained in the entire process? But also the fact that those educators are staying in that very community. The rapist is a neighbor, is a colleague somehow. The other things you'll find that is truck drivers where they won't even know. But the main challenging issue is the parents are the one who are condoning those activities. And when you look at the socio-economic status, because others, it will be issue of if the pregnancy is not terminated, the parents are happy that this child is going to give birth, and the father is going to not only support the child, but the family. And also, the child is going to be bringing additional grant in the family. So there's a lot around that. But however, I feel that the policy was not socialized enough because if it was 2021 policy and teachers were not aware of, that's also a challenge.
In this case, we're also speaking about families that support those relationships from the young girls and older men in some cases because of financial support. You know, so it becomes difficult to ultimately report cases like this. Then, how do you think we should deal with those issues? How best do we report those issues safely, of course, as well? Because there is a fear of reprisal or backlash.
There should be a line which is private and confidential, where it can be reported but not tracked who reported that case. The other thing is we need to empower the parents, because if parents are not empowered about the danger of allowing their children to be sexually active at that young age, with older men who they call, it's my daughter's blaster. They're even known by the parents. They need to know that there's issues of HIV and AIDS, which for them is not even an issue, because when the other time when I was telling one of the learners that she's HIV positive, she said, after all, HIV will kill us in future, but hunger is killing us today. So you find that when some of the basic needs like food is not met, people might do things. It's inhuman, but because of they're hungry, they will find all means of getting financial support. So if the parents are taught and they understand that there might be other means of getting money besides engaging or letting their children interact in intergenerational sexual relationship, that can be helpful. And also to know that it's not only about HIV, it's about other sexually transmitted infection. It's also about the child's future. Because if a child is giving birth to a child while she's in grade 5, grade 6, grade 7, what is going to happen to that child really? Who is also going to care for that young child, because it's like they don't see the extent of the burden which is brought to the family and to the child.
Professor, thank you so much for the time. It's certainly, I think, research that needs to be pointed out avidly. And a lot more people need to be made and known, aware, helped, assisted, trained, as you made note of as well. All those solutions absolutely necessary, because in the scourge of gender-based violence in the country, of course, we're looking to bring that down to an absolute zero as soon as possible.